All right, welcome to the Beginner's Guide. This is probably one of my favorite games, if not in like my top 5 favorite games. Um, it's honestly, there's really no good way to explain it to you. You just have to see it. It's a really story-based game. It's made by the same people who made the Stanley Parable. So if you like that game, you'll probably like this one. But let's get started. Please make sure the audio is on. I hope my mic isn't muted. Thank you for teaching me how to use the WASD controls. Thank you, game.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide.
Hi there.
My name is Davey Reedon. I wrote The Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011.
Okay.
We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveyWreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
So I'm probably not going to do a lot of talking when he's narrating, just because I don't want to. It's a very story-based game, and I don't want to take away from the story with my own commentary. Like, I'll chime in when I can.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
It's really important to hear everything he's saying, so I won't be piping up unless he's pretty silent.
Hostile alien life forms inbound.
It kind of looks like this game was abandoned
cool.
mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
So I played this game for the first time about
Apparently,
2
the
years
space
ago, and
station
I
has a
haven't really
labyrinth
played
on
it since then.
Sure,
So
I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever
I'm
been
gonna be
able to discern, so in the
experiencing
interest
a lot
of
of this
time,
for the
I'm
first
just gonna
time as
skip you on
well.
past it.
Oh, you skipped me past the labyrinth. Thank you, sir. Whisper machine
this is the part
status
that's
active.
interesting.
Evacuate
The game has
immediately.
this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Whoa.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
It doesn't. Oh, I'm dead.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Oh, I'm back. Whoa. I'm going through the wall. Oh, wow. It's the universe.
The beam causes you to start
I
floating.
can crouch in midair.
And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but
is the
Coda
thumbnail right
identifies
here.
something human about it. Like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system.
Yep, that's the thumbnail.
Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
November 2008. Okay, the past was behind her.
Yep, in this game you can only walk backwards.
Well, I really hope this isn't setting up for a jump scare of some kind.
So it's
The
a short
future
and
cannot be
relatively
seen.
minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative.
Keep
It is less
changing?
advanced
Why
than the
does
previous
future
game, but
keep
actually
changing?
it seems to be more focused, more complete.
It-
Coda's trying to
when
give it a
she
unique
stops
voice
and
rather than
looks,
simply
it
basing it
becomes
on a
clear.
pre-existing trope.
But if the future is always behind her, how will she find the strength? How will she find the strength for what? To confront it. There's a door here.
It's a
second
short
ago.
little thought, it says what it
Oh.
wants to say, and then it ends.
It's
Didn't need
done.
anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
Now this is definitely setting up for a jump scare, and I don't like that. You are now entering. Entering what? Mr. Narrator, are you... Oh,
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
okay. I'm a bit afraid, but okay.
Oftentimes,
Nonsense in
Coda would
nearly
put
every
bizarre
direction.
titles like this one at the start of his games.
This video is probably
wish I'd
gonna
known him
go
at the
up
time that he was
uncut
making
just
these early
because
games.
everything the narrator
He would really
says
only
is
talk to me
really
about his work
important.
as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him.
Like,
And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
why can't I go up the stairs?
Once
Yep.
you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here
can't-
so that when
let me
you
get up.
press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Ah. Hi. Standing on an edge staring at a bear for 3 hours. Game of only motivated quotes played one after the other while the player cannot move. Motivational.
A room that's warm,
You run a shop
nice,
inside your own body, selling
and
your
filled
organs
with little
to
ideas for
strategically
games.
make the most money before you die. A game where you collect items, except the game automatically quits when you collect them
Coda
all.
would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew
Here, you
that
can
he was
just pause the
actually
video
a
if you wanna
vibrant
read
and
them.
compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a
Button
very
you press
slow
to
climb
stop
to get
the
there.
chaos that doesn't work. Press U to surrender. Play as the camera filming an advertisement, walking around on set filming. Oh. I forgot how like enticing this game is. It just makes me want to pay attention. Like whenever he starts talking, his voice is so like resonant and clear that it forces me to want to listen
Well,
to
this is
everything
new
he
for
says.
Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
Ah, there was a way to solve this. Yes.
Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're gonna see it a lot.
I have like chills from music and just everything that's going on. Where do I go?
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Whoa. Whoa, what? I want to get there.
How
There's-
about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it
Why?
funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior, and then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
January 2009. Oh, we're back here. You are now
Aha.
exiting.
So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected
walk.
somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that
I would
all of
like
his
to be
games are
out of
meant
this
to play a
dark hall.
role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
The Great and Lovely Descent. This game is so beautiful. Like every level's, like the ones that are designed.
Let's talk
to
about
be,
video
like,
game
older
development for a
gameplay,
second.
They look good
Every
too.
video game runs on
But,
what's
like, the
called an
ones that
engine,
are
which
actually,
determines what the game can
like
and
this
cannot
one,
do. So in other words, the
I don't know,
engine
it's just
is
the
a set of
aesthetic of the
tools for
game
game
It's
development.
so futuristic. I don't know. Maybe I'm
To make all of these
Maybe I'm
games,
just,
Coda is using an engine
toilet,
called Source.
sitting on the toilet.
Like all engines, Source
Sitting
has
on the
certain
toilet.
things that it does well, and it has
Toilet
certain things that
sitting.
it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because
Oh.
he's working with what the engine does well.
Oh,
The
well,
tools
this is-
available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider
And
paying
parkour.
attention to the architecture in Coda's games to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's
Ow.
very good at producing
I don't know why I said
linear,
ow.
boxy corridors.
Whoa. What's going on down here? I'm like wearing layers right now and I've got chills. going? Okay.
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
No, I'm staying here for the full hour. This video is an hour long now. No, I'm just kidding. Oh.
This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
What is this?
It's the puzzle again,
It's the door.
with the exact same solution as the last time. There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
Listen,
Here, Coda begins using a kind of dialogue
I'm gonna turn the sound down.
system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat
Yes.
capabilities.
Yo there, did you
Use the
come
1,
from
2,
up above?
3
What was
buttons
up
on your
there?
keyboard to respond.
Yes, there was a world stamped with whiteness. Yes, but there's an enormous prison. I spent hours. Yes, but there were these floating colored blocks. I won. That's the world above. You've been there. Now this is important. Did you have to get through a puzzle with 2 doors and switches? I'd prefer not to tell you. After all, we've only just met. But you don't understand. We are trapped here. The puzzle is our only escape. We need to get through it. You think you want to get through, but trust me, you don't. No, but I do. We do need to get there. Do you understand? It's the most important thing in the world. We have to escape this prison. There must be an ending. I promise you, there is nothing I want more. Bye guys, I guess. Where am I going? Oh, there's more of them? They're the same guys. What? Is the floor different? Am I going crazy? I think I'm going crazy. No, I've been right here this entire time. Who are you? God, I need to turn down the audio again. Jesus. We'll give you guys closed captioning too. Am I leaving again? Oh, this is different this time. I don't want to sit in the darkness though.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level.
Oh,
It's a
the light
lamppost.
from the. It's the lamppost from
Okay,
the.
I can't tell you
screen.
quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, you know, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. we're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
Oh, I guess that's it for this part. This game is connected to the internet. As you walk around, you can leave notes. All notes you see are left by other players. Okay. Nice room, not.
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce
How do
this,
you
but
beat
this
this
game
game?
is not connected to the internet. All of
No
the notes
point
that
to
you're going to
this.
see have been written by Coda. This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game
Whoa.
jam in Sacramento, where I grew up.
Can you guys
I saw
hear
him
me?
working on this very level, and it was just so different
Hello.
from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like,
Reasonable.
I have to be friends with this person.
Everyone read
In
that.
retrospect, I,
I,
think I was
every
probably a
single
bit too pushy, trying to get his attention.
one.
I was
Wanna play with Secret.
over-enthusiastic.
Once upon a time I did.
But he was very gracious about it
Find
and
fun.
very patient with me.
Balls.
And I cooled off eventually.
How is there wooden grass?
Feel free to skip over
concrete
any of these
here?
notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them.
Ah, yes,
Either way,
okay, now
to
I
me they
think
convey a
there's
sense of
gonna be something
loneliness.
extra, but I'm too
I
lazy
see this
to go through
person
and read
who's
every
filled
single one
with
of them.
thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard
Boring.
voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played.
I can assure you, guaranteed that there is an acorn somewhere here in this place.
But it's ironic,
The sailors
isn't
are
it, that
looking for
in
it.
playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we
Hey guys,
get to
just
know
looking
him
for
better
someone
and
to talk
actually
with.
kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really
I
seductive to me.
refuse to believe.
That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head
I need
and
to go
get
to
to
the
know them
freaking
better
bathroom.
and
Me
have to
too,
do
buddy,
less
me
of the
too.
messy in-person socializing.
Recognize me, please.
I could just get to know you through your work. I think this
There's
is why I
nothing
always
here.
liked
Go
Coda's
back.
games so much.
Don't
Is because
listen
it
to that
felt
guy.
like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world.
Someday I'll meet
And
the
then I
person
feel
who made
less lonely
this.
too.
There's so much to explore. There's that whole area. Oh, I guess I'm gonna end up over there, huh? It's so hard to commentate over this game because the commentary, there's already like commentary for me, and I'm just chiming in, trying not to interrupt the narrator. I'm also just taken aback by this game. Stop faking it. Painting, what does it mean? Whoever made this has issues. Hey guys, how's it going? Just hanging. Help, I am trying to speak. I think it's about how things look messy from up close and perfect from very far away. We will all die someday. Spoilers, it doesn't mean anything. But doesn't it though? I don't know. This, it's like nothing's really happened. He's just telling stories. But I feel so involved in what's going on.
At the
Like
end of
I'm-
this level, we're going to
And
see
he's
the
talking
puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of these games represents
I
an
can jump
idea
down,
that was
okay.
on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous
one with
chapter
the
of his
spiraling
life
nonsense.
before moving on to the next one.
Downward, keep
In
digging.
each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then
Close your
place
eyes
this
and wish
puzzle
for it really bad.
that he knows has a reliable solution, he understands exactly how it works,
Almost
and
at
so
the
it
end.
gives him a simple mechanism for moving on.
Does this puzzle have a solution? OMG, I've been here for literally an hour. Help. Help. Doesn't make any sense. The second door went open. How do you solve it? Developer answers, please.
And because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to
Healing
reflect
back
on
to the start.
and let
Later,
go of the
guys,
events
it's
that
not
led you
so
here.
bad in here.
To step back and connect
So no
the
answers,
pieces
I
together.
think. There's no
To
second
grasp
switch.
at that
No
elusive
solution.
bigger picture.
How do you leave notes? It's the same lamppost. Oh my god. Are you there? Please say something. It can be anything. I just need to say, talk to me, please. Why are you having so much? Speak, 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 speak. I'm trying. It doesn't give me anything to say. Okay.
Okay, this one is tough. It's gonna kind of just spin its own wheels for a few minutes.
On that note, Chapter 9. Welcome back to this level. We'll start playing the game again, but that's going to be it for this video. I forgot how much this game just takes me into its story and gets me involved in what's going on. And I hope it's getting you involved too. The like 10 people who watch my videos, not even like 10, but we'll get there eventually. Yeah, have a good day. The Beginner's Guide, Part 1.